So lead poisoning is an issue that we've known about in terms of wildlife health for decades and decades, and it's caused when hunters who are using lead ammunition are releasing ammunition into the environment. And I don't think people sort of fully appreciate just how much lead actually just goes out there into the environment, particularly shooting with a shotgun. Most of those pieces of lead shot just fall into the wider environment. And then birds, particularly waterbirds, but some other birds as well, see these lead shot. They probably think that they are either seeds or they grub around for them in waterways and so on, pick them up either as food items or even as thinking that they are grit that they would use for grinding up their food in their stomach. But of course, what we know about lead is it's highly toxic. So what we see then are birds that consume this lead shot, then die, or even if they don't die, it's a sort of poison which affects breeding success, their behaviour, they're more likely to be predated and so on. And we think that because it's good at killing birds, it's also good at, stopping them breed so well, then this is why it has this sort of population level effect. So I suppose wherever you get hunting and where you've got vulnerable species, then you're going to have a problem with lead poisoning. Lots of birds are picking up this lead shot, or even raptors will pick up either lead shot or lead bullets in the prey or the carrion that they're eating. So we're talking about millions of birds that are dying, and this is an annual problem. We know that this lead is contaminating the environment, so it's contaminating soils, which we need for growing crops, but also actually even firing it into our food. It's clearly a mistake because it's lead, isn't it? It's highly toxic. So it's this sort of one health issue, which we've known about for a long time. And really, it's time for some action because we've got solutions. Thank goodness for non-toxic ammunition, which works very well. It works well enough that some countries have completely phased out all lead shot and they just use non-toxic shot. And lots of hunters are understanding that it cannot be sustainable to use lead ammunition. And so lots of hunters are now using non-toxic ammunition. It needs a little bit of political will to make that happen for good. But hunters, can start making that change right now. They can learn from the other hunters that are already using it, perhaps talk to hunters in countries like Denmark that have been using non-toxic shot for 20 years or so, and then just really, open their minds to using this alternative, which is good for the image of hunting, it's good for the wider environment. It means those who are hunting food to eat can eat it, without being, affected by lead. AOA really has been the beginning of this focus on lead ammunition. If it hadn't been for AOA, I don't know where we would be with this. So, it was back in the 1990s calling for a phase out in wetlands, which many parties have already done. But now CMS have picked up this issue and have, in their guidance documents, which have been adopted in resolutions, called for a phase out of lead ammunition across all habitats. And it's really CMS and AOA that have raised the awareness of this issue, and now it's being taken seriously. I think a few years ago, I don't think we're ever going to see the end of lead ammunition, and now this is the beginning of the end. People can see it's on its way out. We're going to consign it to history. One of the good things that came out of CMS COP12 was the formal creation of the Lead Task Group. So that's a multi-stakeholder group that brings together industry and the hunters, those of us who know about lead poisoning and so on, at one forum. It's going to be, the group where experiences can be shared, where resources can be brought together. And I think that's really important for hunters, that they've got a place where they can go and access information about what sort of non-toxic shot should they be using, for which species, and so on. So I think that group really is going to be very, very important for that kind of cross-stakeholder dialogue.